we get a lot of very surface level stuff in the media. And so, I just want to encourage everyone to not just pay attention to the headlines and to dig deeper before you latch on to a feeling or an opinion about something.
You gotta fact check the fuck out of shit.
You gotta, because
I mean, really, you with the fury of those swear words that I said all that with, like, you just have to
fact check the
yeah
fuck out of it.
exactly, like with a fucking fury. Welcome to the Easy Speak Speakeasy.
You've unlocked the door to unfiltered mental health and wellness conversations.
Okay, coming back again. That's gotta be our opening song. It's gotta be our opening song.
Especially after we've been on break like this.
Yes, we're back at the Speakeasy. I'm so excited.
Me too. This is so exciting.
Welcome to the Easy Speak Speakeasy, your go-to unfiltered mental health podcast. We're your hosts, Dahyana and the OG KG.
Yeah, coming back.
Coming back. We had a really nice summer break. I know y'all missed us, but also I hope it was bearable because we still put out some pretty fire content, I think. We've got our top 3 favorite episodes, our top 3 favorite sips, and our top 3 favorite shorts from last season that you can go watch and listen to on our YouTube channel. But yeah, here we are in September.
Mm-hmm.
The months are starting in or ending in burr now.
Hate it.
Burr. It's almost time for another sweater weather episode.
I want to keep my bathing suit on.
I know.
Do I have an echo?
No, not on this end.
Oh, okay, good.
You have one on your end?
Maybe, who knows? It could just be in my head. It's been that kind of day.
Oh my goodness. KG is experiencing some technical difficulties today, but that's okay. We're just going to roll with it. Mercury's not even in lemonade anymore, so I don't know.
It's so wild. Who even knows? It's fine. I have tequila.
That's right. You have tequila. I have pineapple juice and a few other things mixed in, which leads us to our next wonderful aspect of season 2.
Announcement. A special announcement coming through.
We are going to be introducing mocktails into our sips this year because, it's really trendy thing to do. And also we know that not everybody wants to drink all the time. So we're going to do our signature beverages that we do every episode, but we're going to make sure that we supply you all with the ingredients for a mocktail version of that drink. So this is going to be our first go around of it. KG, what's in yours? What do you got going on over there?
I have some tequila, pineapple juice, agave, and lime juice.
Yum.
Is that everything I put in here? I think so.
I think that's what we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
Because I literally just looked in my fridge and I was like, what do I got? Because I'm not going to the stove.
This is good. It's nice and refreshing.
Yeah.
The weather still is not cool.
Yeah.
So we can still roll with the summery drinks.
Yep.
I saw this meme the other day that said people who say summer isn't over until September 21st are the same people who stay in the club until the lights come on. And I was like, it's me.
Yeah. I've never stayed in the club till the lights came on. In fact, fun fact, I have never actually really been to a club outside of like one time during my bachelorette party. But two, I am very much in that camp. Like I went into Marshall's the other day and it was still August. And I walked in and I like almost passed out because I got jump scared by a ghoul or a goblin or something. Like the whole store is Halloween. I'm like, hello, can we let summer last as long as summer is supposed to last for? What's the big rush? What's the big rush?
I know.
So anyway,
it's wild.
It is wild.
So what is with your mocktail? Everything minus the tequila?
Pretty much. And then I realized I did not, in fact, have lime. I had a lemon. Mm-hmm. So I did that.
That's good. I went out and bought a lime.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't mind. I don't mind it. I love it. Tequila and lime, they're like...
I know. They do go together. I thought I had lime, and then I went to make this drink, and I was like, did I hallucinate that? So, anyway.
Well, cheers. Woo! Cheers to season 2.
Season 2, what it do?
We made it.
We made it. And we're so excited to be back. And there is so much to catch up on for this episode. I mean, since we left off, when's the last time we recorded? In June?
I don't know. Forever ago.
Feel
out of practice.
Yeah. So many things have gone on in the world. So we figured we'd do a kind of pop culture.
Welcome back.
What's that song? Who sings that?
It's from a 70s TV show. Welcome back. We always play it in our lunch and learns when people come back from break.
Yes, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a rapper sampled it because
probably.
Yeah. I just can't remember who.
Mm-hmm. Maybe producer Mark will drop it in.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Welcome back. Yeah, man, how you doing? You good? I know you like that. I know you like that. How long you been back, man? I see the girls in the club, they're getting wild for me.
Music intermission. Season 2, music intermissions as well. So yeah, I mean, there's just been so many different things that are going on. It's after Labor Day, so we are smack dab in the midst of election season, which is a good time if you want it to be, but also a stressful time. So I feel like we should definitely touch base on that. Maybe we start there because we're fresh off of this debate. Mm-hmm. And, I think this is one of those things that, there's like these things that you're not supposed to talk about with family and people you love, right? It's like politics, religion, sex. Mm-hmm. Is it sex, the third one? I don't
know about that.
I don't know. Politics and religion are definitely
those two,
the top two.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I feel like all the conversations that I've been having around the current election and what's happening are just bringing up for me the fact that, sometimes there are many people in our lives who we love who have completely different opinions politically, and that can be really challenging to navigate. Mm-hmm. I tend to just avoid conversations like that altogether, but I know that I have a lot of people in my life who feel like there's so much at stake that the conversation is unavoidable and that, it's worth it to try to change somebody's mind or try to educate them or try to help them to understand everything that's at play. So I don't know, what camp are you in? Are you having political discussions with your family and friends and people, or are you kind of just like, everyone do you and let's see what happens after November?
I'm definitely having political discussions. I'm more active on social media than I ever have been around elections. I think
I've noticed.
But Huh?
I said I've noticed
Yeah.
in your
Because,
stories.
typically I just, I have worked very hard in my lifetime with my social media to curate a space where I don't have a lot of content like that, because whenever I do go on social media, I want it to be about plants and
Yeah.
positive mental health and like motivational quotes and crystals and astrology, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, but I do feel like because we are so seemingly polarized, and I don't even know how much I buy into that. I feel like a lot of that is media.
Yeah.
I think that the way for us to help with that as individuals is to share facts with each
Mm.
other. Because if I'm sharing things that are factual, then people who that may not be hitting their algorithm are going to see it because they're friends with me.
Right.
And vice versa. And so
Right.
that has sort of been the way that I have been taught, like walking in the world, virtually walking in the world. And then, yeah, I've definitely have been talking to people about it. I feel like it's a little bit unavoidable. Every conversation seems like it has some sort of political, somehow politics ends up becoming part of the conversation. And so,
Yeah.
I just want people to feel more together than we are. And I think that's a really important thing. One thing that I will say, and I think I really started feeling this after both the Republican and the Democratic National conventions went by, was they were two very different types of events. And they both had two very different vibes.
Yep.
And I am more left leaning as an individual. But I really felt like one major takeaway that I had from the Democratic National Convention was this overarching message that it's all of our jobs to reach across the aisle.
Yes.
And so I have been really trying to see the viewpoints of other people. And I do that anyways because I follow accounts of people who I don't necessarily agree with and all of those kinds of things, so that my algorithm doesn't get taken over by just one view of an argument.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and it makes it easier to understand where people are coming from.
Yeah.
And it's very easy, I think, to say all of this is right or all of this is wrong and operate in a world that is very black or white. But the reality is that we're all living in the gray every single day of our lives, and that we are all very complex individuals who are having individual human experiences. I was watching this woman on social media the other day who posted a reel about this feeling that people get. There was a word for it that hopefully will come to me, but it's like when you look at an apartment building and you have that moment where you're like, wow, every single person that's living in this apartment building is living a full, rich life. With problems and happiness and joys and all of these different things.
Yeah.
And that's happening times a billion around the planet, right? And so nothing is really black and white, right? There's all of these shades of gray. And I think for me, it comes back to a lot of things that we consistently talk about related to mental health, right? Like we can't put people in this one box of a diagnosis that they have and that's what they are, or a choice that a parent made and that's the type of parent that they are, right? Like nobody is that simple and straightforward. And so
Yeah.
I'm really trying to operate in that space right now.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, if everyone could be in that space and operate in that space really authentically, I think we would be in a much different position, you know, as a country, but also like globally, you know, from me, because what you're talking about essentially is just like, you know, honoring humanity, right? Honoring the fact that we all are humans. And yeah, it can be really challenging, you know, and I think for a lot of people feel like the outcomes of this election are so high stakes and they see so many implications for their own personal lives. And sometimes it can be challenging to think past the immediacy of the effects on you as an individual or you in your family and think about the greater good, right? And so it's really challenging. You know, I think for me, part of my self-care in all of this, because it is a stressful time, I think, you know, just there's like we said, there's so much at stake in this election that it can be really challenging to like maintain a sense of like well-being and not be completely stressed by it. Especially, like you said, the media plays a huge role in how things are portrayed and what we're talking about. Like today I was listening to one of my favorite programs to listen to, and you know, it's an economic program, but you know, they're constantly talking about like what would happen if this candidate wins to our economy versus this other candidate, and like depending on where you are on in the economy, like it's going to have different implications for you. And like the way that they were talking about it, I could feel myself like my blood pressure rising, because I'm like the cognitive dissonance sometimes, right? It's like you're like, this candidate, I really want this candidate to win because of these reasons, but I also like if this candidate won, like it would be really good for these reasons. And so like it's really challenging. But I recently put together an election stress guide that I would love to share with our listeners and put into our rotation at Pinnacle, because I feel like it's one of those things that we kind of just find ourselves immersed in it all, but we're not always thinking about what we can be doing to manage that stress, you know? And so, you know, part of like what I put in there is, you know, the role of social media and information overload, right? Like we've talked about this before, how to limit your intake, how to, like you said, curate your social media space to be able to, you know, be a place where you can receive the necessary information that you need to have, but that you're not inundated with like sensationalism, right? And, you know, just like practicing like a digital detox, physical activity, staying connected with loved ones. Like, what are the things that we need to be reminded of in times of stress to maintain our well-being? Because sometimes we can lose sight of those things, especially when stress rises to a certain level.
Yeah, shutting down, turning off the TV and the podcasts, and even walking away from conversations, which can be really difficult.
Oh yeah.
But you know, you have to find ways to be able to do that in a way that you are protecting yourself. And you know, we don't have to be rude and ignorant to each other to draw a boundary and say, hey, you know, I have X amount of words I can hear about an election in every day, and I actually just heard it. So let's talk about
I've reached my limit. Yeah.
It's not just about you. I actually heard it from 3 other people earlier today, and they all added to the count too. So don't feel bad. You just happen to be the winner.
Yes.
You know, like there's lots of ways that you can set boundaries that don't have to be like, I can't talk to you anymore. And you storm out, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't,
which is how that usually happens. Yeah.
It is how it usually happens. And I think that's part of this like feeling of being polarized, right? Is that like we don't have to and shouldn't interact with each other this way, right? It's like we're all we're all feeling that, like, it reminds me of the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Like in the pandemic, I feel like we were talking about these same exact types of messaging, right? We were talking about like the misinfodemic, too much information. You have to fact check the things that you're hearing. Don't just assume.
Right.
Walk away, turn off your TV, make sure you're, practicing self-care and all of those things. And this is sort of the same thing. And so I think it's the importance of creating tools and strategies that are rooted in your mental health and wellness that become applicable across no matter what is happening over the course of your life.
Right.
Whether it's an election or a pandemic or a death in your family or a crisis that is happening with somebody else's mental health or so on and so on and so on, right? But if you have those core strategies and you've practiced them and you know what works and how it works best for you, then you're really arming yourself with the ability to be able to move forward and still maintain relationships, because you can love or hate either candidate and still very much love your aunt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they love or hate the opposite of you, right?
It's so true. It's so true. I mean, I the conversations that I've had with people, is a lot of people bring in to question things like morality. And, when we start to have those deeper conversations, I think it can be really challenging for people to look past those things. And, I think that's also real. Like, somebody's moral compass may not match up directly with yours, but I think at the end of the day, we can agree that we all want health and happiness and the ability to succeed and do amazing things in life for ourselves and everyone that we love, and if we could just start from there at the baseline, then maybe we can, get somewhere that's more unifying.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I feel like in last season, we had talked about these parents who were charged because their child had committed a school shooting. And we had a conversation around how much parents should be held accountable for the actions of their kids, right? And then in what was the first day of school for a big part of the country this year, we had this awful school shooting that happened in Georgia. And we released a statement like the next day saying, before you go throwing the parents to blame, like hold off, and let's hear about what happens, because people are complex and families are complex and all of these things. And then, of course, a couple of days later, the dad was arrested because he purchased the weapon that was used for his son in the shooting for Christmas. And all of this is still unfolding as of the day that we're recording this.
Yeah.
But, again, as somebody who has been trying now to really think about the other side of the aisle, right? Do I think, personally, do I agree that that's a great idea? No, right? Like, I didn't even let my kids play violent video games, but that's my belief. Almost all of my friends let their kids play video games. And this was a conversation that I used to have when my kids would go over to their friends' houses.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, we have to deal with those things in the world. And people who own guns or actively are hunting or doing these things, these are oftentimes cultural traditions that happen within a family.
Yeah.
And even though we know that this kid said or potentially made an accusation about, or a potential threat previously that was being kind of followed and investigated. What we don't know are the ins and outs of this family, right? And so like I was trying to think to myself last night, like, okay, under what circumstance, if this were me and I was that parent, would I, in the middle of that, still feel like it would be okay to gift my child a gun, right? And so I'm really trying to figure out, like, what could it be? And so I think to myself, okay, well, if my child is struggling with their mental health in some way, and I believe that if anybody is having a thought around hurting others, we know this is a flag, a sign that there's some sort of a mental health need that's happening, or a trauma that has occurred in the past or something, right?
Yeah.
Maybe the only time that this kid ever talks to his dad is when they're out hunting. And so his dad feels like, well, the only way I'm going to get him to open up to me is if I continue to do these activities with him. Now, I have no idea. I'm like completely throwing things against the wall. But what I'm saying is, I think if we're going to really try to come together as a country, we have to think all the way down the line on these different types of scenarios. And then it becomes education. So, yes, it's important to keep the cultural things that we do as families together. And also, we have to think about what is safe. And there may need to be education. And if you're living in a state like Georgia where there's absolutely no laws around guns in that manner, it's not illegal for him to have bought him that weapon or for him to own it at 14 years old.
Right.
So there's like all of these extenuating circumstances. There's lack of access to mental health needs and easy access to weapons. And then potential cultural whatever things within the family. We don't know what's going to come out or what we'll hear or learn. But what I'm saying is, I believe deep embedded in the cells of my body that 99% of parents are doing the best that they can for their children with the information that they have.
Yeah.
That doesn't always mean that the information that they have is the best information.
Yeah.
And it's really
I don't know.
easy to throw the book at somebody.
Oh, I want to throw the book, the bench, everything at that parent. Like I am just, after learning about the fact that a child made a threat, the FBI investigated and said, make sure to keep weapons away from your son and we'll release him. And then the parent bought a weapon. Like, to me, that's just somebody who doesn't give a fuck. And now they're paying the consequences for it, But like all the other things you said are very true. Like the lack of access to mental health support is constantly, it's glaring, and it's showing up so many ways across our society. I was listening to Bloomberg earlier today, and they were talking about that the fastest growing sector, which made me happy, in terms of job growth in the U.S. economy, the second fastest growing was mental health. And I was like, oh, good. I saw that as like a sign of like, oh, this is great. But like, also, I'm like, it's still not enough. Like, it's like we're nowhere near where we need to be in terms of integrating mental health into our everyday lives and figuring out how to foster good mental health in our individuals and in our society as a whole. That continues to be a challenge. But yeah, I mean, these school shootings as a parent, and I'm sure it's the same for you, like it is just terrifying. And I'm finding myself having like PTSD like symptoms as a result of the amount of school shootings there have been. Like last night I could not sleep, and then I finally fell asleep and I was just having vivid dreams of like active shooter situations. And it's like, like that is just wild to me, like people should feel safe to send their kids to school, and so gun control is one of those things that is on the ballot, this fall. And it's really interesting because for a long time, especially in the Democratic Party, it was kind of just like, we don't like guns. We don't like, that's not a thing that we do. But it was such a breath of fresh air to me, at the DNC when they were showing Tim Walz on hunting. He's he's ex-military. He owns guns. He's a responsible gun owner, so there is a way to facilitate that, responsible gun ownership is possible. But there's absolutely no reason why a 14-year-old needs an automatic assault rifle. Like it boggles my mind that people can so easily get their hands on that and give that and then also give that to their kids. So
I think these are the issues because I think I read something that said I know there was definitely some kind of involvement with Child Protective Services at some point. So this, this makes me feel like, okay, here's a flag of like potentially something that is happening in the home that is maybe around violence with the parents or, some sort of neglect in some way. Yeah. But then we get to the point where it's like, okay, then it's not just the parent, right? Like now we're talking about the community response, right? And like how much ability or lack thereof do our law enforcement folks at any level have to be able to come in and do something about it, right? Like I think with a threat that was not able to be fully founded, they weren't able to say we're going to remove the weapons from the home as a precautionary measure because
of First Amendment rights or whatever.
Second Amendment
rights.
That are in the state of Georgia even more lax, right? And these are the kinds of things around the screenings and red flag warnings and all of these kinds of things that are very important. And so I think, this is why for me, and I think because I'm trying to have this mind of like, don't just think of it one way. That I want to run through all of the scenarios and think about the fact that this is why together as a society, we can't continue to be in a polarized place.
Right? Nobody wants that to happen to their kids. Like
exactly.
Nobody.
Like you're having nightmares. And traumatic type symptoms because of the things that are happening in this country that haven't directly affected you, but have directly affected you, right? And like, this is the thing that is horrifying, right? Like I still have a child that's in school and I have an adult child that works in a school, and I'm having the conversation with my daughter who is a coach. So I'm like, do you know what to do outside a classroom environment? Because he's usually in a gym. And she's like, no. And I'm like, you got to find out for you and for the kids that you're with. And like, I think everybody knows, all of us know what the steps are if it's in a classroom in a normal day. But what about these other times of days where schools are open and busy and active? Like
it's crazy.
So there's a lot happening, and I don't think people's guns should be taken away. I do think that there should be a lot of measurements that are put on anything. If you need an ID to buy something, a drink, if you need an ID to have this cocktail with me, you should need an ID and some sort of a check to also sit next to me and have a firearm on your hip.
Right.
Fine if you have a firearm. Pew pew.
Yeah. Same.
I myself like to go to the gun range.
Yeah. Same. Yep. But I grew up with guns in my house. So it's totally possible. It's just so wild. And then I think what really triggered my nightmares last night was I was scrolling TikTok, and a few of the students who were at Appalachia on TikTok and were telling their stories. And like, I don't know why I watched them, but I did. And I watched like 3 or 4 of them, like right before I went to bed. Right. And it's like, I'm like crying. I'm like, oh my God, like these poor kids, not like even the ones that survived, like, thank God they survived, but like they will never be the same again. Like their whole lives are taken from them in the blink of an eye. So,
yeah, I remember seeing an interview with a girl who was a student at Columbine when there was the shooting there. And then she was a student at Virginia Tech.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And I was like,
geez,
this is unbelievable.
How do you ground yourself in reality after that? I would be like floating off into, I don't know, I'd be very Delulu, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's just so much.
Oh.
And you know what? Like, I'm not proud. And I don't think anybody who knows this, and I don't think a lot of people know this fact, that when people travel to the United States from other parts of the globe, you get a travel advisory that you may be shot while you're here.
Yes.
Like, that's
at a mall,
embarrassing.
At a school. It's so cringe. It's so cringe.
That's so embarrassing.
Like the amount of conversations I've had in the last few days about like homeschooling and like moving to a remote farm and like never having to go anywhere in public ever again. Because what?
Yeah. Right.
I don't want to go to a grocery store. It's happened at Walmart. It's happened at the local grocery store. It's happened at the mall. It's happened at the schools. Like, it's just
at
like
the movie theaters,
at concerts. Like,
whenever I go anywhere with a crowd, I'm thinking, I mean, I grew up, and I think you probably did too, with a dad who was like, whenever you go somewhere, you find the exits.
Yes.
And you know where you're going, right? So that was sort of part of my upbringing as a kid. And so it's something that I've always done on some level. I think unconsciously, I just scan a room and I know where I'm getting out of. But now it's much more intentional.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not only just thinking about like, oh, where's the exit door? Great. I'm like, all right. And what if that exit door is blocked or somebody comes in that way? Like, where's the next way? And that kind of multi-layered thought process around my safety and the safety of the people that I love that are with me is definitely heightened.
It's wild. It's wild times. So, to anyone who's listening, if you're feeling emotional or you're feeling anxious or you're finding yourself feeling like out in public, you're super duper on high alert, just know that that's normal. That's a normal physiological response to the current context in which we unfortunately live. So it's that much more important to do self-care, to do the things you need to do to take care of yourself. I didn't get good sleep last night, so I have vowed that I am going to bed by 9 p.m. tonight. I'm going to do a nice long relaxation skincare routine, and I'm going to take some melatonin, and I'm going to bed.
And steam situation.
Yes, I have it all planned out. So
I love when I start thinking about my bedtime routine, like in the middle of the day.
Yeah. Today was definitely one of those days. Definitely. So, lots of things happening in the world around us. With the election, we also got our former president, Mr. Trump, there. We talked about him and Karen Reed in the same episode, so I figured we'd just give a quick little update on our little felon. His trial for his New York City situation has been moved till after the election. So
I didn't know that.
Yes. So that is interesting. And, kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with what happened with Miss Karen Reed, who we talked about a few months ago as well during that episode, who was on trial for the alleged murder of her police officer boyfriend. So her trial ended in a mistrial. So she is still a free woman. She's got a 2020 special coming out. But yeah, I mean, I think
But they're retrying her, I believe. Is that still happening? The last I heard, they were going to retry her.
They want to, but a lot is coming out now in terms of a lot of the police officers that were involved in her investigation. There's another case that just kind of regained some more public recognition as of a couple of weeks ago. A woman named Sandra Birchmore, who was groomed by a Stoughton, Massachusetts police officer, and allegedly murdered by him, and he apparently staged her killing as a suicide, essentially. So a lot of the police officers that are implicated in that investigation are also implicated in Karen Reed's trial. And so there's some buzzing around. Oh. I know. The tea is hot. The tea is hot in Massachusetts right now. Like the South Shore police officers, I don't know.
I am here for this Netflix series when it comes out.
OMG. Like, it is
gonna be in 100% binge situation.
The feds are circling, and so I don't think they're gonna actually try her, but we'll see. That the word on the street is that they're looking to restart trial back again in January 2025. So we'll see.
I can't believe all those people haven't fled the country.
Nope. One of them was relieved of duty because his text messages came out during the trial, and they were like,
once people start getting put on administrative leave,
yes,
it's going down.
Exactly. Yeah. So lots going on in the world. Both of those folks got a little bit of delay in terms of what's happening in the court system. And I think, we're talking about, the election, gun laws, and all of this stuff. Like, at the end of the day, nothing happens overnight, right? It's always a process. It's always, there's always like a judicial process that's happening in the background. And I feel like part of the challenge is keeping up with all of that. Understanding what's happening next, what the implications of certain things are. We get a lot of very surface level stuff in the media. And so, I just want to encourage everyone to not just pay attention to the headlines and to dig deeper before you latch on to a feeling or an opinion about something.
You gotta fact check the fuck out of shit.
You gotta, because
I mean, really, with the fury of those swear words that I said all that with, you just have to
fact check the fuck out of it.
Exactly. With a fucking fury. It does. It's so true. Everything. People look for the one word in the sentence to be able to twist it into something else. So
it's true. You got it.
It's even interesting watching the fact checks that happen live during debates and things.
Yes.
How it's yes, no, maybe,
yes,
because there is such a slant on things. So it's very interesting, and it's important to make decisions based on facts. It's like we teach in Maslow's first aid. You provide people hope with facts. Not false hope, not a bunch of made up things about life is going to be grand when you wake up tomorrow and today you're feeling suicidal. That tomorrow you will wake up and it will be a new day. And there are things that you can do to work towards better mental well-being. And here are some ways how you can do that. And here are some people who have overcome these emotions, and so on and so forth. It's factual. It's not just everything will be fine tomorrow. It's supposed to be sunny.
Yeah.
No,
No,
that's not it.
that's not it.
That's false hope.
It is. It is.
You never know what the weather's going to do.
That's true, especially here in New England. They said it was going to be sunny all day, and I was driving home today, and all of a sudden it started spitting rain. I'm like,
Ew.
could I get a warning? It's not possible around here. You just gotta be prepared for everything. Your car's you gotta have a winter coat in your car. You gotta have an umbrella. You gotta have a tank top. You gotta have
Layers,
boots, layers, and
Yep.
layers, a blanket.
Yep.
So you never know.
Yep. A shovel.
A shovel.
You shovel in your trunk all the
Mhm.
time. Even
Oh,
in the
yeah.
summer. You never know. You might have to dig yourself out of some sand.
You never know. I
Or
always
snow.
have a shovel in my trunk. Always.
Yeah.
But I thought we could end on some really amazing news.
Yeah.
I was listening today, and our girl Selena Gomez is officially, I love her, officially a self-made billionaire.
Yes.
One of very few women to be able to accomplish this. And not only is she a billionaire off of her billion-dollar beauty brand, Rare Beauty, which I love, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It's really good.
It's so good. She is also utilizing a lot of those funds to make an impact in the mental health space.
Mm-hmm.
So something I did not know about Selena is that she's actually diagnosed with bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
So
very open about this.
she has been very open about this. I don't know why I never made the connection. I knew she had a medical condition. She needed a transplant. And so I think that was my only focus in terms of what her challenges have been. But her Rare Impact Fund, which I was like, oh my gosh, hello, we need to look into this with Pinnacle. We should be partnering with Selena. The whole goal of her Rare Impact Fund, which is a percentage of her proceeds that go to Rare Beauty, are being poured into mental health and ensuring that young people receive the education and support that they need around mental health. So I just wanted to shout out Selena for doing that amazing work and for being so vulnerable in how she's talking about this, and also just how impactful it is to, as a woman, a self-made woman, to then turn around and make sure that other people don't have to struggle the way that she did. So shout out to Selena.
Yes, she has overcome so much, and she has been very open about her challenges. I love that she really kind of bears it all, and she talks openly about her mental health diagnosis. She's very much on board with body positivity and positive messaging, especially for girls and women. And I just think that she has taken what is a situation that oftentimes can really lead people down a dark road for a while, and sometimes for a lifetime, and has really found the glimmer in it and found a way to make it into something beautiful, and is now impacting so many other people. And it's such a wonderful thing to see.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I've always loved her, but today when I heard that, I was like, hold up, Selena. What?
I know.
It's just amazing.
A little warrior.
Yes, she is a mental health warrior, quite literally. So shout out to Selena, and
Lived experience, baby.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that the work that she's doing will directly combat a lot of the things that we talked about on today's episode, just making sure that people have access to the information and the facts that they need to be mentally healthy and well as an individual, as well as, from a community-based standpoint. So, yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, I love it. Makes me want to go and buy some makeup.
I know. I was like, I love the Rare Beauty blush. It's really good. It's really
I need
good.
a blush, actually.
Yes, yeah, she has the sticks, which I love.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just
I love a good stick application.
And the tequila has kicked in, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my gosh. Oh, this has been a really awesome first episode back out of the gate.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of things that are challenging. So I really hope folks stay around for the meditation minute.
Yes. And also, we know we always say that we want to hear back from you, but we are now also implementing a new way to hear back from you other than like comments and other things. So we have an account with SpeakPipe, which is a place where you can leave us a virtual voicemail, and it can be a comment, a question, feedback on what you think, and we can take those comments and questions and play them on the podcast and respond to them. So if you are interested in leaving us a message, please do so. We will have the link in the description, but it is speakpipe.com/easyspeakonair. And so we hope to hear from you in our virtual voicemail. Hit us up.
Sure. Hit us up. And also, sometimes the questions that we want to ask can be of sensitive nature, or, we may not necessarily want other people to know that we're asking these questions. So we will always keep you anonymous if you would like for us to. So yeah, don't let that be a barrier to asking any burning questions that you might have.
Yeah, you can leave a message anonymously. You can put your information or not. You can add a little message in there and all of that kind of stuff. So you can pick your adventure with us here at the Easy Speakeasy, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Yes. And don't forget to rate, subscribe, and review.
Yeah.
And tell a friend to tell a friend.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.